Hi everyone, we're jumping into some new material for the Backyard Basics. This time around we're going to be looking at the Lichtenauer material, so this is before Meyer. We sometimes call this Grandpa Month in the club when we're looking at some of the earlier material. I tend to focus on the Ringeck gloss, the explanation of his material. This book by Stephen Chaney is really nice because it actually includes the glosses, the explanations from Ringeck, Danzig, and Liu all on one page. So you can look at a few different explanations, although they tend to be pretty close together. So we're going to jump into the Zornhau material, the overcut material. And the first two plays really flow together pretty nicely, so we're going to do Zornhau 1 and 2 together today. So let me read to you the Zettel and Ringeck's explanation and then how I practice this on the Pell. So it's very short. It says, whoever overhews you, wrath hew point threatens him. And then Ringeck says this, hear it like this, when one hews in from their right side, hew in a wrath hew from the long edge, also from your right shoulder, with him strongly. If he is then soft to the sword, shoot in the point forward long to his face and threaten to stab him. And connected to that, it says, if he becomes aware of it, take it off above without danger. And to this part, Ringeck says, when you shoot in the point with the wrath hew, if he then becomes aware of the point and parries the stab with strength, jolt your sword upward off of his and hew to the other side of his sword, again above his head. So we are using our overcut to displace the opponent's overcut. So in the club we have both kind of a solo flow of this, and then we do this as pair drills. But the way I tend to think of this is if I am reacting to someone's overcut, I'm probably not stepping forward into it. I'm more than likely pivoting and projecting my sword, or stepping back and projecting my sword, maybe even off the line a little bit, but I'm probably not stepping forward into my opponent's attack if I'm reacting in a defensive manner. So I think the easiest place to start is from, you can do this from overhead or the shoulder Vomtag. I think it is a little bit easier to pull off, at least initially, from the shoulder. But we're gonna pivot and project our sword out. And this pivot is very important. We don't want to just use our arms. As we know, we want to fence with our whole body, or as I joke when I'm teaching lessons and I want people to really remember that, I say we kill people with our butt. Really, we're using the core, but I want them to remember that the body projects the sword. And you want to make sure that you're cutting at a fairly steep angle and you're getting your point out early and on that center line. Sometimes what happens is people punch out with the hands and they get whacked in the hands, or they come kind of straight down where their hands are on the center line, but the point is not. This is probably not going to deflect the opponent's weapon, and again, you're much more likely to get hit in the hands. So make sure that you are cutting across the line so the point is on the line with the pivot. And then if they are soft in the bind, meaning we've taken that center line, we're just going to stab them in the face, usually with the step. And you can do this with the step back, it's all the same. Now we might do this with more of a lunge. And again, if we've stepped off the line a little bit, we might again do a passing step. And then the follow-up is if we have done our cut and we're trying to thrust and then parried it, we're just going to use a fairly short motion. We're not doing a big wind-up because we just want to come off their sword and then back on pretty quickly. So the Zorn or flow drill we do in the club, and I think I've shown this in a previous video, is we just go pivot and we step, making sure we have a nice dominant long edge thrust, and then we'll cut around and come back just so we can repeat it going forward over and over down the line. If I'm doing this against my Pell, I will probably face it, and I like to practice stepping back and coming back right with the thrust. Just part one, hop back thrust, hop back thrust. And the nice thing about that is you can tell when you step back if your point is on the Pell. So if your point is on the right side of your Pell, if your hands are on the center line, it's not going to protect you. Make sure you're getting your point across the line. And then we can cut right around. So the next part, we're going to pop back, thrust, and we can chop. And I like to make sure that I'm coming to this side, just so my head is on this side of the sword. So I'm not going to stay and do this. I like to bring my body with my sword just to make sure I stay safe. So the whole flow drill is, we can do this in place, and we can do this off the line. And then one more time with the camera. So these two plays tend to be pretty short. You will find generally that the Lichtenauer material, the individual technique examples are shorter than the Meyer devices that we've been looking at before, because Meyer was intending to teach several lessons. He talked more than once about there are many good lessons from this device. The Lichtenauer material, the examples tend to be a little bit shorter, but I think they're really great to practice and they're good fundamental motions to play with on the pedal. So play with these two, or really kind of this one that is two plays together, and we will look at the next Wrath technique next week.